So I guess the first question and what you mentioned in your discussion as well was about what is the possible measures to try to decrease that brain drain in the Baltic Sea region. As you mentioned, people are studying abroad, but then they don't want to come back and bring back the skills. And not even that they don't want to come back and bring back the skills, but sometimes the skill set is different. The working environment and the culture is different. So how can we, A, prevent the brain drain, and B, how we can attract the best foresight specialists in the Baltic Sea region?
Mm-hmm. So first of all, as if to start from the roots, I think it would be through the education that to encourage people to found and start more businesses. I have found some statistics which shows that especially in Lithuania and Latvia, people are mostly starting business not only to change something due to some cause, but also as to the main reason is to earn money, to like sustain for the living, you know. And on the other hand, what I noticed that, for example, in IT sector where we work as well, it's not about the money. Sometimes it's about the quality in general of life, you know, it's about the motivation. However, for other companies which are not in IT, you know, and employees, they are looking for better cultures. So I think for now, what we need as Baltic countries to invest in, to encourage, to develop not only technically adjusting workplaces, but as well cultural workplaces where employees would be feeling happy. Because a lot of people, when they see, for example, that we're looking for, we're offering a job for a Norwegian company, there are many more people applying for it than, for example, if it would be a Lithuanian or a Latvian company. So in this case, I think it's also about employer branding, the way we position and we communicate our value, what we are offering. So in this case, I noticed that for now, we have less people leaving the country. But I think it is temporarily due to lockdown and due to COVID. But the real situation we will see probably not even this year, but next year. So we do have time to change, and we have to invite more companies who would have main headquarters in the Baltics, because now it's Netherlands, Germany, UK, France. So because people are attracted to the companies who are large, and they believe that these companies have more better what to offer for them.
It's a very interesting topic you mentioned, that better life quality. And I guess now with the pandemic, when the lines are merging between the work and the home and the socializing and everything, I think that socially responsible organization that provides that positive culture, that positive psychology, that constant development, that support that allows that the hybrid working and this and that, this is, I guess, how the new norm of work will look like. And do you see that as well in organizations transforming not only in that utilizing that positive psychology and creating that positive culture, but at the same time transforming into more hybrid organizations where less office-based, less physical, and more digital? I guess pandemic was a very speed expedite all of that situation, but we were witnessing in Europe before that the organizations were going digitally and virtually more and more often. And I guess that leads back to the first question about the brain drain or the expertise drain, that the companies were going more digital, trying to get those experiences and those experts from the wider field, not only available in that country. But I think now pandemic actually taught us that is not such a bad working style to have that mix between physical team and digital team, and that mix between managing your own time and when the working hours are now merged with the life and etc. So do you witness that change in the businesses, in the business operating models? Like, let's say, moving from the standard 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and more moving into the hybrid, agile, and I guess, transforming operating models within the businesses?
I do, and what I'm noticing right now that companies, first of all, we have more of trust between the managers and the employees, so to say, because previously it seemed that it was an issue of work remotely because of the trust, lack of trust, maybe in some cases, because we did not know how to manage some process virtually. Now we were forced to do that. And some companies are planning to use this advantage because now they can access, by having virtual company, they can access any talents in the world, On the other hand, what I also noticed, we were moving towards the direction of shortening work hours, making work more flexible. And it was what candidates were looking for. We had a situation when it was not the company who was choosing who will work, but it was already the situation where employees, the candidates were choosing where they want to work, who will offer something better, especially in some sectors. So I see that in this case, it is really the situation where we are now concentrating, and it's not about the work that life is getting about, and it's more about the balance, because now we see that we can work efficiently remotely. We don't have to be there from 9 to 5, every day in the office. Of course, for some people it doesn't work. They are saying, I don't want to work from home. It's better for me to work in the office. I focus better there. It's I just need some schedule, but again, I think people will find what is best for them. But this situation forced us to be more flexible. And in this case, I think it will be, of course, that companies who are capable of using talent worldwide, or capable to attract such talent, So it will be, but I think in the meantime, it will be becoming not only physical office first, but virtual office first, because everybody will get used to that and see it as an advantage, not something that we should be scared of.
Absolutely. So as interesting as it sounds, looks like as terrifying pandemic was, it has taught us to adapt to change very quickly and see those threats as an opportunities. And as well, you're mentioning aspects such as not everybody wants to work from home, and more organizations are choosing shared workspaces. And during the pandemic, we saw a popularity of shared workspaces, or so-called work holidays, or all of those aspects where the line between the work and the personal life is merging into one. And in a sense, giving that authority to the person to make a decision and take accountability of the work, rather than the boss or the company demanding. So it's almost the perception of job is changing now from the hours, how many hours you need to work, based on the deliverable, or based on the product, or based on the job that you need to deliver in whatever time that it works for you. And I guess that transformation in our culture was so quick with the pandemics. And some businesses managed to quickly adjust and change. However, some probably faced a lot of challenges. So as you mentioned, it's been 1 year since you entered to Latvia and started your business chapter, and today was the day. So congratulations. So what actually you're witnessing in Latvian market, and maybe you can compare Latvian and Lithuanian market. And 2020 was a difficult year to business. And do you see the difference, how Latvia or Lithuania, what are the differences, and how two countries dealt with those problems? And I guess what was the strengths and what were the weaknesses to compare?
As for educational not issues, but as for educational side, I can compare that, since we started in September with a mini boss school in Latvia, and in Lithuania, we're doing already the 3rd year. So it was that, first of all, for me, it was interesting to notice how the governments of both countries are dealing with pandemics, at some point in Lithuania, we were supposed to wear masks already. And when you come to Latvia, you don't see any people with masks, you know. And it was strange in this, as well as, again, we had the lockdown earlier. We had the much stricter rules. But with the same, it was very interesting that we had bigger numbers, bigger new cases every day. So, and it was very surprising. How is that possible? But it was for some reason. On the other hand, when I would come to Riga for the meetings, I would notice that in general, people are more aware of the situation. They are not participating where they don't need to participate physically. You know, they choose to participate virtually. They implemented technologies more online than Lithuanians. Of course, in Lithuania, we as well had this move, for example, with BNI organization. We moved smoothly within 1 week to online. Of course, it was again about the mindset, you know, because for some people, they would be saying, you know, it does not work online. It has to be physical. It's just like resistance to probably change, which is again natural human nature. You know, we don't want that change because we're going out of comfort zone, and it is natural. And I think on the one hand, we're all feeling like uh, not secure, you know, so totally out of comfort zone in 2020, and we're now so relieved. This year is over. It will be very big, probably history book, you know, about this year.
Absolutely. And this mindset thing that you're talking about, we actually talked a lot about yesterday. And as well, diplomats and politicians are mentioning that in order to implement huge government reforms with digitalization and EU recovery, it's almost the priority is the cultural change, is the social perception change. And I guess, as you said, we are used to change our business models. We used to manage processes. We used to change technology and digitalization. And I guess not a lot of organizations used to change the culture, used to change the mindset. And topics such as perception management, such as culture, such as positive psychology and positive work environment, things such as altruistic objectives within the organizational strategy, and what are the values, what are the motives, what are the vision. Those things used to be kind of things that we upload on our website, but we don't really actually know what they mean. Where now with almost the pandemic, and not only with the pandemic, I think this is a natural progression with any business or with any emotionally intelligent organization, is moving towards prioritizing people as an asset and rather than anything else. So how do you see businesses are coping with this topic that becoming on the agenda more and more often, but at the same time, it's so intangible that people like, how do you implement program for perception change, or how do you implement change in the business model to make it more positive? How do you see businesses adjusting to this intangible change, emotional change, I guess, in the culture?
I think now it's the right time when we speak about leadership within, you know, businesses. It's not about leader as we used to have leadership, but now we are looking for changes, and changes come from different people than we were expecting, probably, because the leaders who were always leading, they are tired, you know, and the ones who were working maybe besides, you know, now it's their time to step in and help and change with their ideas, to contribute and move. On the one hand, you know, I was thinking to myself quite recently that we were studying in I was studying in ISM executive studies some 10 years ago. So, and we already, by that time, we were studying in marketing cases about telemedicine.
Mhm.
So, and it seemed like it's so easy to implement. And I was watching our system in Lithuania, the way it was developing, and we had some scandals and something that was very strange to observe from a side. But for me, it was interesting how long will this take to make a change, because it seems like it's easy. It's already in there. You just need to do it. But now, pandemic showed us that we already have to not to waste time, but already implement the change. We have to act quickly. And I think nowadays, those leaders who are acting quickly, who are reacting and adjusting flexibly, analyzing the situation, those leaders will survive. And those people who have those qualities, they will arise.
Mhm.
Because the markets and the situation, it's not for comfort, it's not for stability, it's about growth. And it's not about even the year that people were saying, and I was wishing for New Year's, like, let's get back to normal. But this normal will not be the same as it was a year ago or 2 years
Mhm.
ago. It will be new normal.
Mhm.
Use the situation to, in general, improve for the situation, uh, and to advance the markets, advance the positions in the world for the
Mhm.
Baltic states in general.
And I think that's as well the challenge of the mindset is accept the fact that the reality is never going to be as it was before pandemic. And in some cases it might be better, in some cases it's worse. And it's about that mindset. How do we keep what was best and what we still can, but at the same time adjust those changes that pandemic taught us, and create that new vision of the future, that new working model and that new approach. You were talking about the leaders as well and how leaders impact the change, but at the same time, in your speech you mentioned the importance of the community, and how during these tough times when no one knew what to do, we got back into what we do best. We got back into communities, we got back into that social structures of sharing, of gathering information within our groups. And you were talking about the BNI that is across 70 countries, and how during pandemic it actually started to grow. So businesses were very quickly looking for the way forward, looking for the adjustments, rather than waiting for that coming back to the norm. Businesses very quickly realized that in order to survive, we need to adjust. And it's almost a very good lesson in the way that the businesses teaches the rest of the society, us as an individual, as well governing bodies, that we need to very promptly adjust. So you were mentioned this power of the community, and again, do you see that difference in the relationship where before, I guess, it was very competitive market, and it was very kind of everybody looking for their own? Do you see that culture change as well during pandemic, where people become more sharing, more let's work together, let's survive this together? And do you see that as a positive change in a sense, or it was always like that?
I noticed that in the case of the BNI community, even companies who were previously knew each other, but maybe sometimes would look outside, they became more open. In some cases, of course, it's hard for us to say that, I'm struggling, my business is on the bankruptcy level and I don't know what to do. But in this case, the community got together and became stronger. We started sharing success stories. We started sharing the information that we have. We started sharing inspiring stories, to to share optimism that everything will be best. But most of all, for our community, we could share their referrals and recommendations, because I was I was watching some video last week because BNI had the 36th anniversary last week on the 8th of January, and they announced that in BNI it was 40,000 companies who joined the BNI last year. So I think it shows, you know, that it's a need for belonging to community, because I was always comparing that when I started my business, in half a year, my clients went bankrupt, and I was still a student in my last year, and I did not have any network, you know, I did not have any mentors, I did not have someone to talk to, I did not know somebody who would have business, and it was quite unusual, you know, I did not know whom to refer to when this happened to me. And I'm saying that sometimes it's about human nature to share information, to be together. So it's not about, you know, only financial instruments from the government, but as well as encouraging that companies could be together. I noticed that there are a lot of organizations for entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs. Uh, in general, it is a belonging to get together, to be stronger, to grow together. Because when we are, you know, just one person, it's one result. But when we want to go far, we have to go together. In long distance, it's teamwork that wins, not the best leader.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, I wanted to highlight that yesterday as well, even talking about the politics and economy, the topic of the mindset, the topic of as you say, acceptance and cultural change and togetherness and that belonging and the community was keep coming up. So in a sense, the difficult time brings us together. Another thing in your topic you were mentioned was about digitalization and how quickly small businesses adjust and large corporations adjust, and how it's more difficult for smaller businesses adjust. And at the same time that the governments are issuing support and issuing skills programs. Do you think digitalization as a mean for government reforms, what are the steps could be taken to provide that high level public service to reduce administrative burdens for both citizens and for businesses, for, you know, applying for those grants or applying for those programs? And how can we get the government to be quickly as well agile and prompt and robust in responding to those business problems?
I think one of the things that we can address out of many is upskilling the workforce, because we have a lot of people who lost their jobs and are not able to find new ones because they don't have skills. Let's um, think about drivers. Everybody's staying at home. We don't need so many buses, you know. They don't have the skills what they can do later. Shop assistants, shops are closed now, so they don't know how to work with e-commerce, maybe, you know. So I think one of the things it's to help these kind of positions in the marketplace for them to get digital skills and use it to compensate the lack for specialists in the market, because now we have a huge increase in e-commerce, which they're also struggling to find people. So I think it's also a good situation, you know, to deal with the aging workforce and help them reintegrate by teaching and training with the same situation. On the other hand, I think it's also for companies to go fully online, digital, to use cloud services. For large companies, yes, they can have some financing that they can have for it and implement it much easier. But for smaller companies, they are struggling, you know, to pay salaries, and they are asking for government for assistance how to cope with this. So I think if government again provides some instruments for digitalization, particularly how companies can create innovations, how can they go and use technologies to implement those these organizations, this digitalization. For me, it's very interesting because for several years we are seeing how our children, you know, our children have to work on business projects. They have to come up with business ideas. So majority of them, they come up to social or innovative business ideas, but they're all requiring digital skills. But for children, it's already natural because they are already generation which grows, with the phones in their hand. And probably when we would say that somebody learned to dance or to sing before started walking, so in this case, we can say the same about our children. But for us as elder generations, we still have this struggle. So it's from workforce to technical, how to implement it.
I think it's funny because with technology, we all are getting older generation every day. So no one can keep up with that. Thank you so much for the discussion. It was amazing.